Opening time at the Castle pub in Farnham. Serving the prosperous Surrey commuter belt, you might hope this part of the economy at least was doing well. But today's official figures show the economy is weak, and even here the outlook is uncertain.
Our industry is under enormous pressure. We're seeing the economy stagnate as a result. So it certainly isn't a surprise to anybody in our sector that the economy is not growing the way the government wants it to.
The UK economy shrank by 0.1% in January, worse than expected. And that follows poor monthly numbers stretching back nearly a year, with December's strong 0.4% increase looking more like a blip. The pubs and restaurants industry, like many others, blame the Chancellor's decisions in the last budget for the slowdown. A higher minimum wage, a rise in national insurance contributions, an increase in business rates. Mark Robson says all these changes add £250,000 to his costs.
We are really looking down the barrel of a shotgun at the moment. It's very, very desperate. People are genuinely very, very worried. They're very fearful for their future, for their lives, often people's houses, when they live above a pub, and they're very fearful about the industry.
But are things really that bad? I mean, the government says it's trying to promote growth. Are you just complaining a bit too much?
No, the reality is stark. We have never seen the pressure like this on our industry, on pubs. Key part of the social fabric of our country, and even during COVID. COVID was a very, very difficult and challenging period, but we had really helpful government support. At the moment, there is very, very little support for pubs and for the hospitality industry.
The pubs and restaurants sector has never fully recovered from COVID, while output across all services has risen more than 6% since the pandemic. Food services have shrunk by 11%, and it may not get better anytime soon. The pubs industry says it is facing a crisis this year, with a survey suggesting that 1 in 5 of them could shut because of the increase in costs brought about by last year's budget. That is bad news for a Chancellor desperately searching for economic growth anywhere she can find it. Pubs say Rachel Reeves would get more growth in their sector if she reversed some of her tax rises. But slower growth and weak public finances make that a challenge, with the Chancellor trying to turn the focus back onto the Conservatives.
This government is determined to turn around the poor performance of more than a decade when it comes to growth, and we need to go further and faster.
Further and faster will be difficult, with manufacturers also under pressure, though their big worry is higher tariffs from President Trump. For the pub industry, the closures are already here. This bar round the corner from the castle has closed its doors for the last time. As the economy continues to stagnate, how many more will follow?
Well, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has also defended the need for cuts to welfare spending. Let's get more on that from our senior political correspondent, Paul McNamara in Westminster. Paul.
Yeah, those GDP numbers were bleak. The government is acutely aware that next week could be even bleaker. We're expecting a green paper on welfare reform, expect lots of cuts, possibly as much as £6 billion, including to disability payments. Today, the Chancellor has doubled down, saying, look, the system isn't working, it needs to change. But there is a huge amount of opposition. On Tuesday, there was a cabinet meeting. That evening, our political editor Gary Gibbon revealed that about half of members of cabinet were protesting cuts. Today, we've got a bit more meat on the bone. Who exactly was protesting? We understand that the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood, all protesting cuts to their departments. Then there was Ed Miliband, we understand, and the leader of the House of Commons, Lucy Powell, complaining about those amazing concerns about those cuts to welfare payments. Now, talking to backbenchers this week, time and time again, you've heard the same sentiment. Look, if we are having to cut welfare payments by this much, this soon, if the Chancellor isn't able to deliver the economic growth she spent an election promising, what on earth are they going to have to cut in future?
Paul McNamara in Westminster.